Even if it's not a song you wrote, it's still fun to go in there and see what you can do, how you can make it.
George, if you love country music, you might want to grab some tissues before you watch this video. Because what George Strait just told his fans has left thousands of people with tears streaming down their faces. The king of country just opened up about something that nobody really wanted to hear, but everyone needed to know. And honestly, it's hitting us right in the heart. George Strait has been the backbone of country music for over 50 years. Think about that for a second. 50 years of pure, honest, real country music. While other artists have come and gone, while trends have changed and the music industry has shifted in a million different directions, George Strait has remained constant. He has been that steady voice, that familiar friend, that cowboy in the hat who reminds us what country music is really supposed to sound like. And now, he's telling us something that fans have been afraid to think about for years. During one of his recent stadium shows this year, George did something that shocked the audience. He sat down in the middle of his performance. Now, if you know anything about George Strait, you know this isn't like him at all. The man is a professional through and through. He's the kind of performer who gives everything he has every single time he steps onto that stage. So when fans saw him take a seat during his show in Philadelphia, people immediately started to worry. Was he okay? What was happening? The concern rippled through the crowd like wildfire. After the show, George opened up about what was going on, and his honesty was both beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. He talked about his back. He's been dealing with some back issues, and at 73 years old, that's not exactly surprising. But hearing him talk about it made it all feel so real. This isn't just some untouchable legend we're talking about. This is a real person, a man who has given his entire life to music, and time is catching up with him just like it catches up with all of us. But here's where things got really emotional. George didn't just talk about his back problems. He said something that hit fans like a ton of bricks. He looked out at that massive crowd and said he probably has about 5 good years left to sing his song for all of us. 5 years. When you think about the fact that he's been performing for 50 years, 5 more seems like such a small number. It feels unfair. It feels way too soon. He said it with such grace and honesty. He told the audience that it's been around 50 years now, and he still loved performing just as much as he ever did. Can you imagine that? After 5 decades of touring, after hundreds and hundreds of shows, after singing the same songs thousands of times, he still loves it. That's not just dedication. That's pure passion. That's a man who was born to do exactly what he's doing. And then he said something that really got people crying. He said that when he walks through those curtains and sees all the smiling faces in the crowd, his feet don't touch the ground again until he walks back out and gets on that bus. Think about what that means. Every single time George Strait performs, he's floating on air because of the love and energy from his fans. At 73 years old, after everything is accomplished, he still gets that feeling. That's the mark of a true artist. George has been touring pretty hard this year, even though he said multiple times that he's trying to slow down. He performed with Chris Stapleton on a series of huge stadium shows that had fans absolutely losing their minds. These weren't small venue gigs. We're talking about massive stadiums packed with tens of thousands of people. In Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and other cities across the country, George proved that he's still got it. His voice is still incredible. His stage presence is still magnetic. He's still the king. But it's clear that the touring is taking its toll. When you're in your 70s and you're performing for hours in front of massive crowds, traveling from city to city, living on a tour bus, it's exhausting. Most people that age are retired and relaxing at home. But George keeps coming back because he loves his fans that much, and his fans love him right back. The really beautiful part of all this is how humble George is about everything. During his shows, he's been thanking the audience for calling him back. He said he keeps trying to slow down, but the fans won't let him, and he asked them to please never stop. He thanked everyone for an amazing year and said he couldn't wait to see them for a few more shows. It's like he thinks he's the lucky one, when really, we're all the lucky ones to have him. Let's talk about just how incredible George Strait's career has been, because when you see the numbers, it's actually hard to believe. This man has sold more than 105 million albums. That's not a typo. 105 million. He's earned more than 60 major entertainment industry awards. He's the only artist in history to have a top 10 hit every single year for over 3 decades. Nobody else has done that. Nobody. He has 33 different platinum or multi-platinum albums, which means has earned the third most certifications of any artist in any genre. The only two artists ahead of him are the Beatles and Elvis Presley. That's the kind of company George Strait keeps. And if that wasn't impressive enough, he has 60 number one songs. 60. That's more number one hits than any other artist in history. When you really stop and think about these accomplishments, it's absolutely mind-blowing. This year alone, George broke another record. Back in June, he performed at Texas A&M's Kyle Field, and that concert became the largest single concert in United States history. Over 110,000 fans packed into that stadium to see him perform. Can you imagine looking out at a crowd that big? That's a small city of people all there to see one man sing. And he'd already held the record for the largest indoor concert in North America with over 104,000 fans at AT&T Stadium. When it comes to breaking records and making history, George Strait just keeps on doing it. But beyond all the numbers and records and awards, what really matters is the impact George has had on people's lives. His music has been there for fans during their best moments and their worst moments. People have fallen in love to his songs. They've gotten married with his music playing. They've cried to his ballads during heartbreak. They've celebrated good times and gotten through hard times with his voice in the background. That's the real legacy here. George's songs are honest and real. He sings about life the way it actually is. He doesn't try to be something he's not. He's not chasing trends or trying to sound like whatever's popular at the moment. He's just George, singing country music the way it was meant to be sung. Songs about love, heartbreak, drinking, cowboys, and all the simple, beautiful, complicated parts of life. That authenticity is rare these days, and people recognize it and appreciate it. One of the things that makes this situation even more emotional is that George is still performing at such a high level. This isn't a situation where an artist is past their prime and struggling through performances. George still sounds amazing. Music critics who have reviewed his recent shows have said that he continues to pick great songs, sing even better, and show a quiet, confident presence on stage. One reviewer said that he skipped the pyrotechnics and just let his voice do the heavy lifting. That's George Strait in a nutshell. No gimmicks, no tricks, just pure talent and genuine connection with the audience. He recently released his 31st studio album called Cowboys and Dreamers, and fans loved it. It's filled with classic country sounds, the kind of honky-tonk songs about drinking and heartache that George does so well. The album features collaborations with Chris Stapleton and includes songs that have become instant favorites. Even after all these years, George is still creating new music that matters. He's not just coasting on his old hits. He's still an active, creative artist who has something to say. But now we're facing this reality that time is running out. When George said he probably has 5 good years left, he wasn't being dramatic or looking for sympathy. He was just being honest. And that honesty is what makes it hurt so much. We want George Strait to be immortal. We want him to keep performing forever. But that's not how life works, and George knows that better than anyone. The good news is that George isn't stopping yet. He's still got shows planned, and is making it clear that as long as he physically can, he's going to keep performing. He said he figures he has a few more years in him, and is going to make them count. For fans, that means cherishing every single show, every single song, every single moment. We get to see the King of Country do what he does best. There's also been some beautiful moments this year that show exactly who George Strait is as a person, not just as a performer. When devastating floods hit the hill country area of Texas, George immediately jumped into action. He organized a special benefit concert called Straight to the Heart to raise money for flood victims and to honor the first responders who worked so hard to save lives. The event was intimate, limited to just 1,000 guests, and it raised over $6 million for flood relief. George brought together an incredible lineup of country artists, and even Garth Brooks showed up as a surprise guest. The evening included a prayer led by Pastor Max Lucado and remarks from the governor of Texas. George said that the destruction from the flood was hard to wrap his head around, and he wanted to provide meaningful support that could go directly into the hands of people who needed it most. That's the kind of person George Strait is. Even at this point in his career, even dealing with his own health struggles, even knowing his time on stage is limited, he's still thinking about others. He's still using his platform and his influence to help people in need. That generosity and that heart is part of why people love him so much. He's not just a great singer. He's a good man. Fans have been emotional on social media ever since George opened up about his future. People are sharing their favorite George Strait memories. They are talking about the first time they heard his music, the first concert they attended, the way his songs have been the soundtrack to their lives. There are stories about fathers and daughters dancing to I Cross My Heart at weddings. There are memories of road trips with All My Exes Live in Texas blasting on the radio. There are tears over Carrying Your Love With Me and The Chair and so many other songs that have meant so much to so many people. What's really touching is seeing younger fans discover George Strait for the first time and fall in love with his music. Country music has changed a lot over the decades, but there's something timeless about George's sound that still connects with people of all ages. Teenagers are going to his concerts alongside grandparents. 3 generations of families are singing along together. That's pretty special. Some fans are already talking about making plans to see George as many times as possible over the next few years. They are treating each show like it might be their last chance, because honestly, it might be. Nobody knows exactly when George will decide to hang up his hat for good. He said he'll keep going as long as he can, but we all know that as long as he can has an expiration date. The country music community has also been vocal about what George means to the industry. Fellow artists have nothing but respect and admiration for him. He's influenced countless singers and musicians. He's set the standard for what it means to be a country artist with integrity. He's shown that you can have massive commercial success without selling out or compromising your sound. That's a legacy that will last forever, even after the concerts end. It's worth remembering that George has been through heartbreak in his own life that has shaped who he is. He and his wife Norma lost their daughter Jennifer in a car accident back in 1986. She was only 13 years old. That kind of loss is unimaginable, and it's something that never really goes away. But George and Norma stayed strong together, and they've been married for over 50 years now. That kind of lasting love and partnership is rare, especially in the entertainment industry. George has talked about how his faith and his family have always been his foundation. Music is what he does, but it's not all of who he is. He's a husband, a father, a grandfather, a Texan, a cowboy. Those roots keep him grounded. They keep him real. And they remind us that behind all the fame and the records and the sold-out stadiums, there's just a man who loves what he does and the people he does it for. Looking ahead, we can expect that George's remaining years of performing are going to be special. Every show is going to feel like an event. Tickets are going to be harder to get than ever because everyone wants one more chance to see him live. And George, being professional he is going to give everything he has every single time. He's not going to phone it in. He's not going to give half-effort shows. That's not who he is. We should also appreciate that George is being honest with us. He could have kept quiet about his limitations. He could have just kept performing until he physically couldn't anymore and then suddenly announced his retirement. But instead, he's letting fans know the reality of the situation. He's giving people time to process it, time to make plans to see him, time to say goodbye gradually instead of all at once. That's a gift, even though it doesn't feel like one right now. The phrase 5 good years is going to stick with country music fans for a long time. It's going to be in the back of our minds every time we hear a George Strait song on the radio. It's going to make us a little emotional when we see clips of his performances. It's going to remind us that nothing lasts forever, and we need to appreciate the special things while we have them. But let's also remember what George said about those 50 years has already given us. 50 years of incredible music. 50 years of unforgettable performances. 50 years of being a constant, reliable, authentic presence in country music. That's not something to be sad about. That's something to celebrate. Yes, it's hard knowing that it's going to end someday soon. But how lucky are we that we got 50 years of George Strait in the first place? The standing ovations are going to be longer now. The applause is going to be louder. The cheers are going to be more emotional. Because everyone in those audiences knows that these moments are precious. They know that this is history happening right in front of them. They know that years from now, they'll tell their kids and grandkids about the time they saw George Strait perform, and it will be a story worth telling. George Strait has given us the soundtrack to our lives. He's been there for us through everything, and now we get to be there for him as he finishes out his career on his own terms. We get to show him the same love and appreciation that he's shown us for 5 decades. We get to fill those stadiums and sing along at the top of our lungs and let him know that his feet really can float above the ground for a few more years. So if you're a George Strait fan, make your plans. Get your tickets when they go on sale. Bring your family. Bring your friends. Wear your cowboy hat. Sing every word. Soak in every moment. Because the king of country is still on his throne, but has told us that he won't be there forever. And when he finally does take his final bow, country music is going to feel a whole lot emptier without him. George Strait isn't just a singer. He's not just a performer. He's a piece of American music history. He's a connection to a time when country music was pure and honest and real. He's proof that you don't need to change who you are to be successful. He's a reminder that talent and authenticity will always matter. And is a gift that we've been blessed to have for 50 years. The tears that fans are crying aren't just tears of sadness. They are tears of gratitude. They are tears of love. They are tears of appreciation for everything George has given us and everything he continues to give us. We're crying because we care. We're crying because this matters. We're crying because George Strait is a king, and there will never be another one like him. If this story touched your heart the way it touched ours, please hit that like button. Share this video with every country music fan you know, especially anyone who loves George Strait. They need to hear this. They need to know what's happening so they can appreciate these final years as much as possible. And please, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story about the artists and the music that matter most to you. Let's celebrate George Strait together while we still can. The king deserves nothing less. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.